So first and foremost, we want to do the budget and enrollment update. So our budget right now is right on track. We're doing pretty well budget wise. We are not where we need to be enrollment wise. So our projected enrollment is 466 right now. Our current enrollment is really about 430. Miss Anita has been gone for a couple weeks. Her dad wasn't doing great in Arizona, so she's down there. So I'm not exactly sure where our numbers are, just because she's got quite a few kids that have registered. So it's still only April, so that's fairly early. But we'll see if we get up to that 466. We may want to. I don't know. We've got money saved, so if we don't meet that number, we're okay here. So we've got that money put away. So every single kid we get just gets us closer than just we can take that money out of our savings bank and put it back into our budget. So we feel pretty good about that. So I'm not super concerned about our budget. We don't have to release anybody. We don't have to worry about any of those things. We can afford all the things we want to afford. And so anything else beyond that is just kind of icing on the cake, for lack of a better word. So then the next thing on there is staffing. And so we've got a little bit. Cass is on there. Hang on, one more. Joseph. Hi, Cassie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Perfect. We're just letting you know we're just recording the meeting, so nobody has to take notes. So just so you know that.
Okay.
All right. So then moving on to staffing. So the first thing under staffing is enrollment. We just talked about that a little bit. We're still below projections. And so based on how that affects our staffing right now, we're slated to have a 2-3 and a 4-5 combo. Second grade numbers for us are super low right now. We only have about 40 to 50 kids registered. Again, I don't have exact numbers just because Anita's not been here, but that's only for 2 classes, only 25 kids a class. And so we combine that with third grade. Anna Brees, who is a kindergarten teacher currently, she's going to take on that 2-3 combo. She taught third grade for a number of years. And then if we get enough kids to hire an extra second grade teacher, then she will just either she'll either move to third and we hire a second grade teacher, or she'll move to second and we'll hire a third grade teacher depending on our number. So that's our plan for that. And then the 4-5 combo right now, all of our 4th, 5th, and 6th are all sitting at around 60 a grade level. Which is, if you go down to 2 classes, that's 30. If you go to 3 classes, then you drop down, pretty low. And so that's why we have the 4-5 combo. But I'm pretty confident that that's going to come up, and we may not need that. We just have it right now in the budget based on our enrollment. So Lindsay Tyler, who's currently our 5th grade teacher, she will be teaching that 4-5 combo if we go down that route. But again, I'm not anticipating that. We just want to have that in place. And so with Anna Brees moving up, we are going to hire a kindergarten teacher. So that gives us 2 kindergarten teachers. We'll talk a little why that is here in a little bit. And then most likely we'll have to hire a third, just with numbers coming in with that. So other than that, we only have a few changes. We've got one of our, actually 2 of our SPED team is leaving. And then we have one of our 4th grade teachers is moving back to Kansas, which is actually a good thing. She's pretty excited about that. And other than that, I think everybody else is here to stay. So that's always good. Did you have a question, Lacey? I saw you unmuted.
Yeah. So those split classes, do you let the parents know or ask the parents? Or I'm curious, like, say the second graders that are in a second, third grade split class, are you choosing like advanced second graders that could keep up with third graders? Or I'm just kind of curious how you put those classes together.
Yeah, so for those classes, typically what we like to do is put students who are either identified as gifted or above grade level for the 2-3 combo, for example. So gifted or above grade level students who are in second grade, and then students who are on grade level but independent workers for third grade. And so we've already targeted those individuals. We haven't reached out to parents yet because we're not officially having that. We probably won't until about the middle of the summer. We just wanted to have that class prepped because we don't really know. We don't want to have to alert parents and say, hey, you're going to be in this class, and then not have that class because our numbers came in. So that's typically how we do it. And it's the same with 4th and 5th. So with 4th grade, we would have kids who are either identified as gifted or are above grade level. And then with the 5th grade, it would be students who are on grade level but also independent workers. So that's typically how we do it. So that way, it's not that too big. We try to keep the kids as narrow as we can. In our 1-2 combo this year, that's exactly what we did. We actually lucked out because we didn't realize what kind of kindergarten class we were getting in, and we lucked out with 2 kids that ended up being identified as gifted being in that class, so they're able just to flex up to 1st grade. And then just given the way our schedule works as well, so if those students, for example, they're identified as gifted that go above and beyond, like maybe 3rd grade, then we also, just given our schedule, have the ability to flex them up even further if we can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. All right, so we talked about the combo classes, and so we also have 2 new specials that we are starting next year. And we are able to do this just obviously because our shrinking enrollment, we just kind of are moving some pieces around, and we have some needs that our students, we have some needs that our students need, for lack of a better term. So our first special is going to be a STEAM special. Anya Zavadil, who is our other kindergarten teacher, she is taking that role. She used to be a district math coach, and she also has been through all of our training along with most of our staff with design thinking. And so we're going to do a lot with design thinking and STEAM. So it's going to be like a second special. We are not losing any of our regular specials. It's just in addition to. So then instead of having students go to art and then go to library, they'll also have the chance to, if they're art, they go to library, but they're in PE, they'll also go to STEAM. If they're in music, then they'll also go to our other second special, which is going to be wellness. We are just really concerned about our students who've been, isolated for so long, that we want to make sure that we are meeting their social emotional needs. And so Noelle Dunker, who is one of our 4th grade teachers, who's done mindful mornings and is really, really in touch with those, that type of curriculum, is going to be taking on our wellness teacher. So at the same time, they'll only be doing those second specials Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So Mrs. Zavidal will have STEAM Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Mrs. Dunker will having that the wellness class where they work on mindfulness and things like that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Mondays and Fridays, Ms. Zavidal is going to be our math interventionist. We've got quite a few literacy interventionists, but we don't have a math interventionist at this time. And so she's going to take on that role Mondays and Fridays just to help kids who have gaps in math, fill those gaps. And then Mrs. Dunker is going to support our gifted learners relative to their affective needs goals. And so Ms. Jakubowski, who's usually on these calls, is our gifted coordinator. She's going to turn over some of that responsibility to Mrs. Dunker. So that way we just have more than one person helping out our kids who are on the, who are identified as gifted. And so those are kind of all of our big changes. And we're pretty excited about how that's going to shake out. We also, with a double special for every single one of our classroom teachers, we're able to move our meetings to inside of the day instead of outside of the day. Right now, our teachers are, 1 day a week, they have to either stay late or come early, in addition to staff meetings and things like that. And, we try to balance family with work here. You get happy teachers, and they then provide happy classrooms for our kids. And they really wanted to have things in the confines of the day. And we really wanted to have a second special just to have more opportunities to meet our kids, like, specific needs. We've always thought that specials, for some kids, that's the only reason they even come to school. We've got kids that really have a lot of social emotional dysregulation, and just having this consistent tools that is really helpful. And then just the STEAM is just going to be awesome. Just an extension of science out of the classroom, and just do some more experiences and things like that, and just have a dedicated special for that. So we're pretty excited. And then on top of that, we've adjusted our schedule. And so we've kind of blocked our daily schedule today, or this next year. So between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock next year, every single grade is going to be doing math at the same time. So for example, if you've got a student who is gifted, they can move up a grade and work with, upper grade level students because they're doing math at the same time. If we've got kids that need some remediation, we talked about some of our students who don't speak English as a first language and really struggle, then we can move them down if need be, and we can flex group. The other thing that we're going to do next year is what's called, right now it's tentatively called an intervention block, but we didn't really like the name intervention block, so we're process. It might be called Stallion Time, or I'm not really 100% sure, but what the name's going to be. But essentially what happens is every single grade level every day has a half-hour block where it's just working on gaps that kids have. So that's where the kids are going to be doing their online instructional minutes through iReady, and then the teachers just is pulling groups. And at the same time, we also are flooding in resources in that class. We've got some other adults coming into that grade level because it's spread out throughout the day. And so then kids will be just moved around to fill out their individual needs gaps. And at the same time, we can also fill gifted gaps. We can fill ELL gaps. We can fill special ed gaps. So that dedicated time is every single day. We're really, really going to hit the intervention piece very hard next year just to make sure our kids are successful. All right, Lacey, you unmuted again. That's my cue.
I know, and now I think I forgot my question.
Sorry.
Oh, I think I was gonna ask about the STEAM and wellness. So I
Yeah.
know like Pine Grove and Prairie Crossing, they already do a STEAM special.
Yeah.
Is it, I guess, is it gonna be similar to that? Like, do you guys all use the same curriculum or?
We've got the same goals, especially when it comes around wellness. We've got the same standards. But as far as curriculum goes, we most likely will probably do something different. Our staff is, especially thinking about the STEAM piece, our staff is a lot more trained than Pine Grove is, and so ours will probably look a little bit different, but the standards essentially remain the same. So I guess the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
I just want to say I love it.
Yeah, me too.
It's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. I think that's it. So then on the other side of the fence, curriculum updates. So we are going to continue with math, Ready Math next year. But the other part of the equation is what we've been using the last 2 years have been, Jan Richardson. You've heard our teachers talk a lot about the Jan plan or Jan assessments and things like that. And so Jan Richardson, that came out this year, is not a state approved literacy program. And so we are going to pivot to a state approved literacy program. And this is going to be beneficial in 2 ways. Number one, it's state approved. So that way we're on target, so we don't have to change later, and we actually have a choice of what we want to do before the state tells us what we want to do. And then the other thing is then our building then becomes aligned, because right now what you have is you've got the Jan Richardson model, which is a framework but not a curriculum. And so then teachers are open to interpret it. So if you're looking across the entire school, it's not an apples for apples comparison. Typically, grade levels are roughly the same, but then as they move up, terminology comes a little bit different, how things are done a little bit different. And just over time, that just is not what's best for kids. It's, research has told us that if students are in the same system for year after year after year, they can just build on that background knowledge. It just helps them overall, just in general, what they're learning. And so we are going to adopt Benchmark Advanced. We've spent probably a good 4.5 months just going back and forth with their sales reps. We got a bunch of demo samples. Our teachers dug into those demo samples. We looked at a couple other programs. We've talked to our professional development department. And so now we're in the final stages of that purchase. The only thing we're waiting for is if the district is going to purchase it for us or we are purchasing it. Either way, we have the money to do that. But if I don't have to spend the money, then I'd love it if the district would pay for it. And that way, it makes it even more aligned throughout our school. So again, thinking back to those blocks. So if you've got a kid who needs to move up, it's very easy to do that because it's essentially the same curriculum and have access to all those things. And if a student needs to move down, again, it's the same curriculum. So it just helps our students in literacy for a long time. And so that's kind of the final piece of the puzzle for us. And so that means we'll have those kind of core programs in place for our kids to be really successful. So we're pretty excited about that. So the other piece after that on the agenda is Cmass testing update. So as you know, I do pretty much everything around here. So I was also the Cmass coordinator, which was a terrible and awful experiment. I did not enjoy that at all. But our students took the Cmass test. We just finished our e-learners last week. I have no idea how we did. Some students finished like 3 sections in about 15 minutes, and some took days to do it. So we'll have to wait and see. We had a lot of kids opt out, which was fine. That really wasn't a big deal for us. It's a hold harmless year for us. So no matter what the results are, it's just another data point. It doesn't hurt our school standing or our school rating at all. And then I think all of you heard that, we didn't have to take both tests. So typically students take English language arts and then also math. We didn't have to do that. So 3rd grade took English language arts, 4th grade took math, 5th grade English language arts, and 6th grade took math. We did have 2 students opt in to some more testing, which I thought was a little strange, but they were excited about it. So we did that, and we had, out of our, I think 40 some odd e-learners, we had 9 students come into the building for the first time in over a year to take some tests, which was kind of cool to see their faces because we haven't seen them in a long time. And so I process the Cmass tomorrow, and I will most likely drive by and throw it out my window and hope I never have to see it again. But that gets processed tomorrow, and then we'll be officially done. And then who knows when we'll get those results back. Other than that, the next thing is we've talked about this a couple times, the boundary change. So we've talked about this, I think in the last time, we were slated to have 2 sections of boundaries be changed because Prairie Crossing currently is over capacity by quite a lot. And so the first section was along Jordan Road, kind of on the west side of Jordan Road. There's a long stretch there, and then there's another stretch that is just north of us. That's just a really small neighborhood that's kind of by that Taco Bell in there. And so during the course of the whole proceedings, they interviewed the families that are in there. We were originally slated to get 6 kids, but then the Jordan community that lives up there, and they elected to go to Pine Grove. They did not want to come here. In fact, a lot of them, I think, wanted to stay at Prairie Crossing, but the ones that did want to move wanted to go to Pine Grove, so they eliminated that from us. We did get approved for the boundary change by Taco Bell, so that netted us a whopping 2 children. So the 60 did not pan out, but we got 2. So I guess that's always good. And then moving forward, any family that moves into that neighborhood will automatically be serviced to us. And it's within walking distance. So they don't even need a bus, which is kind of interesting. So maybe that'll change in the future. We'll get more kids out of there. But as of now, it's really only 2 kids. So that's why our projected enrollment was 466. And we're only sitting at about 430. All right, Mrs. Shorter, I saw you pumped in there. It's like Jeopardy. See the thing pop up.
Great. So that's for this coming up year.
Yes, that is correct. That'll be from now on. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And there was talk for a little while about 6th grade moving into Sierra Middle School, and that is not on the table for next year or the year after that. There's just significant amount of financial implications at Sierra to try to house, an entire 6th grade there, and they are not prepared to do that. So,
right.
Do you think it'll happen in 3 years? You said not next year, not the next year. Do you anticipate that happening?
It all really depends on whether or not the district has money to do so. So if there's a bond on the Miller bond in the next couple years, and they would most likely put that in there, because it's going to be a significant cost. They're going to have to build a pod. They're going to have to, you got bathrooms and water. It's a huge cost. And plus Sierra is like 8,000 years old. And so it's just a lot of construction. So I'd like to say no in 3 years, but at the same time, if they pass a Millen bond or we get some additional funding, then I would say that they would, us being the only feeder in all of the Parker region that has 6th grade in elementary. I would guess that's where it's going, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Mr. Meredith made it sound like it was going to happen, that they are really looking into the well and adding on to the building, and that he really feels like it was going to happen. Do you think there would be a parent survey or input?
You would think so. They have to. Just when they talked about the families that are projected to move from Prairie Crossing, they canvassed the neighborhood. Mr. Shorter, you could talk about this because you live in that community, that they repeatedly talked to the community about whether or not they wanted to move, whether or not they wanted to stay, where they wanted to go, what their thoughts were. I don't know. Mrs. Shorter, do you have any feedback from that?
No, just that I just echo what Lacey is saying. In talking to Mr. Meredith, he is all about it, and Sierra just needs that additional year of kids, that 3 years of kiddos, to get that additional sense of community. And he just needs it.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what would that do to Cherokee Trail, losing all of those 6th graders and our 6th grade teachers and stuff?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Just with some of the 6th grade teachers we have, like next year, we're moving to more departmentalizing model anyways. So kids will be able to kind of switch the classes. So for example, we have 3 teachers. And so one teacher is doing math and science. One teacher is doing social studies and writing, and one teacher is focusing on literacy. So as the kids move through, they will basically have like a homeroom teacher, and then they'll have basically other classes that they go to. So we're trying to turn it to as close to middle school as possible. I don't think our teachers would want to go to the middle school. They're more elementary style teachers, but then we would just find places for them here, whether or not if we have to create a new role, whether it's interventionists or whether it's classroom teachers, we'll figure out something there. As far as losing the students, the second half of the 6th grade year is always a challenge. They're ready for middle school anyways. It would be sad not to have those kids in the building, but I know that, Mrs. Shorter's right. I think the kids would be ready for middle school. So I think for us, it wouldn't really affect us budget-wise. We just would have a smaller projected enrollment. It would be kind of strange, but we finally might have some space to do some things. We're losing our conference room this year because one of our SPED providers has got to use it for an office. And so that would free up some space. That would be about it. So I guess I have mixed feelings. When I associate with when I think about it from the kids' lens, I think it's a good fit. If I think about it from the teacher's lens, it's a little tough, having to contract those down. But like I said, I'll figure out something for them to do here if they want to stay. All right. Other than that, the only thing when we typically don't discuss this is, we have our SAC for next year, but we typically wait to do that until the following school year. So moving on to the teacher update with Miss Ashley Jakubowski. So you're stuck with me again. She's in Florida. So when I went and talked around the teachers the last couple of days, everybody is doing our end of the year iReady diagnostic testing right now. And so far, our kids are doing way, way better than we were anticipating. You never really know what you're going to get. So they took it, on the first day of school here, and we were in that hybrid model. And then they took the second one, they were at home. And so this is the first time they've taken actually in the building with everybody there after this, 5 days a week since January. And so they are doing really, really well. When I talked to them yesterday, they were very encouraged about students growing, and a lot of kids are back to where they were. And so lots of celebrations around here. Teachers are super, super happy about those things. I have not heard a single teacher yet who's been upset about their growth of their class. It just makes us happy that we've been finally get the kids back on track. It feels like things are sort of coming back to normal. And so that's good. And then just given the changes that we're going to put in place next year, I think we're going to fly, and we're excited about it. So as long as we can put that to bed. Other than that, our teachers are planning just kind of end of year activities. Our 6th grade was not able to do kickball, but they are going to go to Boondocks and still have their graduations, which is nice. Field day is still happening. So that's a big deal for our kids. And then a lot of teachers are planning kind of end of year celebrations. And so that's good as well. We're not going to ever say this publicly, and if you say anything, I'm going to deny it. But we have also started intermingling at recess. We are cross going. It may not be the most safe things, but we sat out there and watched recess for like 3 straight days, and there wasn't a single student that was next to another student for longer than 15 minutes. They just are running around all over the place, and they're outside. And to be honest, they just need time together. And so it's been like, the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it's like these students are able to meet 2 new friends or 2 new classmates, and, kids can now, don't have to be separated from each other. Again, so it's just nice. It just makes it really nice. The kids are really excited about it. And we've had way less instances at recess. So it's been good. So those are all positives. Other than that, it's kind of moving down. Everybody else, like I talked to today, was really focused on those end of the year testing pieces. And then those are all basically done this week. And then after that, it'll just be kind of those end of the year, kind of wrapping things up. All right. Next on the list is a DAC update. Yes.
Got it. Okay. So when was this meeting? It was the 15th. So holy buckets. It was rescheduled from the 13th to the 15th. And the board update part was how they were down to 4 finalists, and shocker, I mean, we already know Corey Wise is our new superintendent. They also passed the equity policy, and then Matt Reynolds gave a staff update, which was how they were working through the county orders versus the state, how everything's now down to county versus state. Mm-hmm. Looking ahead, details are going to be, he's so funny. He said, looking ahead, the details are going to be at the next board meeting. That was on 4/20. I did not go to that, so sorry. That's all I have. And how the site and lead update given by Deanne Kirby, there were going to be possible rubric changes, and she went and gave a big review over all of those. On the budget update, the presentation. She gave a deep dive into compensation, and the budget recommendation was moved to May.
Oh, okay.
Curtsy.
Nice work. Thanks for doing that. So just a couple add-ons to those pieces. Yes, Corey Wise is our superintendent. And if you are asking on the inside, almost everybody unanimously is extremely excited about that. Not only is he a, inside person who's gone up through the DCSD systems, he's also a SHAP person. He originally started his career at Chaparral, so he's a SHAP feeder guy as well. So we are all very happy about that. I know our teachers are really wondering what the compensation package is going to look like. That's going to be dependent on the state budget first, and then what that looks like for us. And then obviously with President Biden getting elected, and he opted for some more stimulus package money. So those are coming as well, but you're not sure what that's going to look like, whether it's teacher compensation, whether it's summer school options. We're not 100% sure of what that looks like. So teachers, of course, get their fingers crossed for salary increases, since we are still the lowest paying district in the metro area. So luckily, our teachers are happy here, and so nobody's leaving. So that makes me very excited. That's not the case with other schools. Teachers are jumping ship because you can make significantly more money in other districts. So that's why we try really hard to take care of our people here. And we, I think, do a pretty good job of that with the help of Lacey and PSP. That is for sure. So on that segue, Lacey, I'll turn it over to you on the PSP update.
Okay, first, the most recent grants we filled, kindergarten requested some Lego wheels and pieces so that the kids can make little Lego cars for their push and pull unit that they'll be able to use every year. And then the other one was first grade is, I don't know if they've got them yet, but they are hatching little chick eggs and watching them through the CSU extension program. So we're always super excited to be able to help those teachers do, those fun projects and help them with things that they need. Right now we are knee deep in Teacher Appreciation Week, which is next week. So PSP will provide lunch a couple days, breakfast one day, a coffee cart one day, and then we have some like treats and desserts for one day. We upped our Teacher Appreciation Week budget this year for a couple reasons. One, we didn't have as many costs this year, not doing some of the events, Morning with Moms, games night, other things that we weren't able to have that we saved money on. And also, since the food has to be individually packaged, I feel like it's a little harder to find and order. Like I can't just bring in a zillion donuts to put out. So I feel like that was a little bit more expensive. And also because we just really want to, show our teachers and the staff how grateful we are for getting through this terrible year. So we upped, usually our Teacher Appreciation Week budget is $1,500. So this year we upped it to $3,000 just to make sure that we could really spoil them. Yearbooks are ordered and will be delivered soon. Supply kit order forms and online ordering will go out next week. And then orders will be due the 28th. So the last week of May. So they'll essentially have the whole week of May to order supply kits. And then our next meeting will be usually in July so that we can start planning for the next year. And we are super hopeful that we can plan a back to school night and ice cream social and get back in the building somehow, some way to do all the fun events and just have a fun run and donuts with dads. And even if it has to be outside, like I think that I, as a parent, am super missing all those events. And I think the kids are, I know my kids are so excited for field day. So I know that they are really missing all those events. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, I would agree in that sentiment. I think, we are talking about it. I've got all my end of year evaluations right now, so I'm talking to all these teachers individually. And just they don't talk to each other very much, because we can't use our teachers lounge, and so it's one of those isolation things. So that's part of the reason why we want to have that wellness special, so students are able to deal with those feelings and just have some strategies. But at the same time, we also want to have those events back so kids can just socialize and just be kids. And yeah, we'll be excited when this year is over. That's for sure. Well, do you guys have any other outstanding questions or anything that came up that has been crossed your mind, you heard in the community, or anything else come up that we need to chat about?
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So curious, have you guys had any quarantines lately, or how is all that going? I haven't heard of
I have
any at the
Joseph who
elementary.
on quarantine.
Yeah, we have one that just started today. It's our first one since January. We actually thought we were going to make it all the way to the end of the year, but then we had a kiddo test positive in one of our kindergarten classes. So that started today, but luckily it's only for the rest of this week. And so he can come back to school. That's to get a test on Monday. So that's good. It's just kind of weird now because the teacher's here, because all our teachers are vaccinated. And so it didn't wipe us out because, that would have been Miss Whittingham, our PE teacher, but she's been vaccinated, so she's able to stay in the building. So it didn't hit us as bad as it had in the past, but that's been our only one. We've had quite a few individual cases out, but this is our first one that tested positive that actually had been at school in a really, really long time. In fact, we had to kind of sit and work through. So we had that, and we had preschool on the same day. And I think it's the same family for the other. I think it was two brothers. So one of our preschools is out, then our kindergarten, but it's only for the rest of this week. So fingers crossed that's our last one.
Wow, that's great. Talon has had a terrible time at the middle school.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting is they no longer send out like the big communication that there's been because if you remember in the fall, there was always, anytime you went out into quarantine, like the whole community you would just get letter after letter, like this is quarantine, whether it affected your kiddo or not. And they stopped doing that. So we're not even sure. We had our regional meeting. That's when I found out this year was remote, because we didn't even know that they had gone remote, and they've had all kinds of problems. I mean, they actually shut down where nobody was allowed in the building for a while. So yeah, it's been we'll all be happy when this year's over.
Yeah. So I know that a lot can change, but are they starting to talk about plans for next year, or, I don't know, masks or volunteers in the building, or any plans for next year, or restrictions?
I get that question a lot, and how we are planning for it. I'm guessing we're probably still going to have to wear masks, but other than that, we are treating next year as it's going to be a normal school year. With adults and volunteers in the building, we're going to have kids being able to switch classes and flex upgrades and flex downgrades and whatever it is, and just have mixed recess and have mixed seating in the lunchroom, like all the things we haven't been able to do all year. We're planning on having that until someone tells us that we don't, or we can't have that. Kind of what the district is talking about right now is summer school, and whether or not it's needed for some of our schools or some of our students who really slid back, or some of our e-learning kids who haven't been in the building for a long time. I'm not 100% sure on the dates of that, and it's really for us. It'd be our kids who are just significantly below grade level that could use that extra push. We have summer school every year, but it's typically for our students with special needs. This year, I think they're going to open it up to everybody, but there's just so many logistics that go into it. But other than that, I haven't heard anything. I think probably the battle between the county and the state, or I guess I shouldn't say that, the county and CDC, I think that is the battle that is really going to be, because if you're not following the news, Douglas County basically wants to secede from Tri-County Health, and Tri-County Health and CDC, they're just having this Hatfield and McCoy's battle. And so we're not really sure. So if Douglas County secedes, I'm not sure if then the school then falls with Douglas County, or the school has to go with the state, so that's why I'm glad I'm not Corey Wise. I'm just, we're just going to try to keep everybody happy here and just roll with the punches. That's our plan.
Yeah. Do you think that you lost some kids this year to charter schools or homeschooling or other places because they didn't want to do hybrid or masks or whatever? And do you think we'll get some of those kids back?
Yeah, we lost a ton of kids at the beginning of the year because they did not feel safe in the schools. And so they started with e-learning, and then e-learning did not go overly well at the start of the year. And so a lot of those kids just either went to homeschool or they just left the district entirely. The students that went to e-learning, we got the majority of those kids back. At the middle, probably about at January at the switchback, we had quite a few kids come back there. I'm anticipating, hopefully, depending on people's stance, most of our e-learning kids that I've talked to that stayed e-learning for the rest of the year are excited to get back in the building. Most of the parents have reached out and just said that they feel a lot better now that the vaccinations are out there, but then it's kind of different strokes for different folks. I'm sure we'll have some that won't feel safe, so they are offering a kind of an e-learning at-home piece next year as well. I just think it'll be significantly less. In our school, I said we've got quite a few kids that came back, so I'd love to have more kids in the building. I just, I'm not 100% sure if they're coming back.
Okay, my last question was, how is it going without an assistant principal?
It's been not enjoyable. It's just been a lot. But at the same time, I've kind of figured things out. I've definitely grown a lot this year as a leader, like taking on things I've never, like the Cmass stuff. I've never had to do that before. I'm also the MTS coordinator. I've never had to do that before. I was also the 504 coordinator, so doing all through those different things. So I've learned a ton this year. And so for us, to me, an assistant principal is a luxury. And so if all of our teachers, if all the things that directly impact kids are fulfilled and we still have money left over, then I'll consider an assistant principal. If not, then we might have to just divvy up different things. So next year, I won't be the MTSS coordinator. Noelle Dunker's going to take that on, and then Ashley Jakubowski's going to take on the CMAS role. So that way just takes a couple things off my plate. I had a hard time giving up some of those things because, with the pandemic and people were stressed as it was, I just wanted to take it on myself and not put more on our teachers. But next year, it's just not sustainable. It's a little bit different. We got a lot of some breaks and things are a little bit easier this year just with the pandemic, especially with testing didn't count against our school and stuff like that. So I'll have to divvy that up next year, but I will 100% be tired by the end of this year, and we'll definitely utilize the summer break. But you reminded me, we are going to be under construction this summer. So we sent out communication yesterday. So we're getting new HVAC, new windows and things like that. So nobody's allowed in this building all summer, which is going to be great because we've got some teachers that just pitter in and out all summer and they can't come in. So it's going to be great for everybody's mental health.
So as of right now, you're planning on no assistant principal, just kind of delegating some of your, okay, just curious.
Yeah. How is Robin doing?
Robin's doing great. She and I are almost in identical boats. Our schools are the same size. She doesn't have an assistant principal, and she's in Elizabeth. And so she was telling me the other day, you guys will find this story funny, is she was doing some parent meetings, and the first parent meeting was a parent who was on horseback because she's down in Elizabeth. And then the second parent meeting, the parent was vaping in the camera and was smoking up the whole thing, and she couldn't even see her the whole time. It's just that dichotomy of neighborhoods now. So she's out there and, she loves every minute of it. She's a strong personality and really likes to do things her way. And so she's getting that chance now. So she's successful and she's super happy. It's just funny.
Great. Elizabeth is a good school, so she should be okay.
Yeah, she's actually, Miss Jakubowski, who's our PLS, actually went to that school as an elementary student, and now Robin is the principal there. So it's just that small world. All right, what else do you guys have? All right, well.
And just thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing all your faces again. It just is so weird. I can't even tell you how awkward it is every time to answer the door, like walking out to the door and like sticking your head out, like I'm a doorman and asking people, say, here, just wait outside while we go get your kids. I can't stand it. It's silly. So we'll be excited to have you guys back in the building just to see you actually in person. It'll be nice. And I appreciate all you guys that you guys do for us. It's been great. All right. So other than that, I'm sure hopefully I'll see your faces at some point. If you happen to show up on field day and just happen to be outside when those kids just happen to be out there, nobody's going to say anything about that. If you just happen to show up for some of these end of the year parties and you just happen to be at the park where our kids are, it's cool. Yep.
I will be there.
Yeah, as you should be. Whether or not we invited you or you were just happened to be at the park at the exact same time the kids show up, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, it's just fun. The kids will be excited to see you. Staff will be excited to see you. We'll just be happy to get things back to normal. Okay, so I hope our paths cross soon. Thanks so much for your time and help, and we'll see you guys hopefully soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.